Hello, everybody. Welcome. 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 Tesla stock is down 0.3%. Overall markets. Dow Jones flat. Nasdaq up 0.7%. S&P 500 up 0.3%. Russell down 0.7%. Apple up 1.6%. Microsoft up 1.3%. Google up 2.2%. Meta is up 4% today. Wow, interesting. I wonder what's going on with Meta. I wonder if it was the surfing, wake surfing, causing a pop in the stock. Maybe Elon could be wake surfing too, instead of working on data centers. Nvidia down 0.6%. It's a Friday, holiday Friday, slow day, slow news day. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak so we can get started. Let's see who's here. Edward is here if he wants to come up. Alexander, Hustletown, Marty T, just for fun. Edward, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing today? How was your 4th of July?
Good, relaxing. I was working, got some stuff done. Yeah. How was yours? What'd you do?
Pretty good. I actually took some, my wife, I should say, and me took a few friends, local friends that we just met through the Cybertruck people, and we took them out for a ride. We kind of blew away their whole family. I mean, they're big Tesla people. They have like 6 Teslas between them. Sorry about my dog barking in the background, but
That's okay. I think he's got something to say.
yeah, he is hounding me. He's a husky. Anyway, so yeah, it took them and they kind of blew them away. They love the vehicle and everything, and they were just kind of blown away by the steer by wire. I think the steering radius with the 4-wheel steering is, kind of freaks people out. Obviously, the power 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. I was sitting in the back seat, so it kind of scared me and down a kind of off-road kind of area, not off-road technically, but it was still, I mean, they had a great time. They're opening a new business, and we took pictures in front of their store, and they were just really kind of pumped up and about it. And one of them's getting the Cybertruck.
Nice. When did you take delivery?
It was about, I think, early March. So we've had a few months driving it. We actually had to take it in for a service issue. It was having issues braking with the what do you call it? It was more of a computer problem, and it looked like it was failing the braking of the regenerative braking. And so we just took it in just to be safe. They didn't find anything wrong with it. We've got it back, and there hasn't been any issues since. But I think it just needed to be rebooted or something. So it was kind of a simple thing.
Okay, thank you. I have more questions for you about Cybertruck. Maybe we can continue. Let me just say hi to a couple of the people. Alexander, welcome. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Happy Friday, everybody. About Tesla, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So 12.4.3 started rolling out to employees. Is that right?
That's that's correct. At least that's the rumor and some information coming from the field. It's still not going to any early access customers yet, but hopefully it will go pretty soon.
You think it's possible this weekend, maybe?
Absolutely. I mean, if there are no issues, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't be rolling it out to Omar and others.
Yeah, both Omar, Dirty Tesla, and AI Driver all said 12.4.2 is ready to roll out to wide release. Do we know what changed with 12.4.3?
No, we don't have much information. The release notes have been published, but there's nothing there. So they might have some issues or some changes that they wanted to do before rolling it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing good. You? It's
Good.
Friday.
Yeah, man. I just celebrate happy July 4th.
Oh no, well, I'm Canadian, so we have our British ancestry, so we gotta
Yeah. Oh,
basically
really?
dunk on it a bit. At least pretend to dunk on it a bit. For us, it was July 1st, Canada Day.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I love to watch the celebration, the fireworks, everything. You guys know how to party.
Yeah. Let me go back to Edward. Edward, so can you tell me again when you got your Cybertruck?
I think it was right in the beginning of March. I would have to look it up. I can't remember. It was a few months ago.
Yeah. So you've had it for March, April, May, June, for about 3-4 months.
It's been about 3. It's been about 3.
Okay. Are you happy with your decision?
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it was my wife's call. When we watched the preview with everybody, the release of it, she was going to get a Model Y, and she's like, "No, I want that." And I'm like almost trying to talk her out of it. I'm like, "This is really radical. Are you sure about this? Are you sure about this?" And she's just like, "Let's pull the trigger." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And sure enough, so we've been waiting 4.5 years, and finally got it. She freaking loves it, but she's just an asthmatic, so she couldn't have like a regular diesel truck, or she'd literally go in convulsing if she's by anywhere that smells heavy or diesel or gasoline. So she has real issues with that. So it was like kind of ideal for her. She always wanted a truck, and and she wasn't going to kind of settle for Rivian, even though Rivian's a good truck. That to her was kind of settling.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously, Edward, I think your speaker is pushing up against something, and the sound from the speaker is going into your mic. So there's a bit of feedback. But yeah, obviously we want Rivian to succeed, and we all should. But so why does she? So by the way, where do you guys live? What state?
North Carolina, outside of
Okay.
Raleigh.
And she always won that truck, you said? How come?
She does a lot of stuff where she's moving stuff around all the time, and she never has enough space to do things, and it's more utility for her. It's not like a towing scenario, so we weren't too worried about the whole towing issue everybody talks about, like it's going to be a big deal if you're towing stuff. But honestly, the people that we approach and talk to about towing 11,000 pounds, they're like, that's pretty good. And everybody we seem to talk to is like, I mean, they're saying it's not going to tow something that's like 20,000 pounds or whatever, but it's not that likely that people have anything of that caliber. So.
Okay, so but you said she wanted a truck for a long time, but she can't get an ICE truck.
Yeah, I mean, she would
is
have
that
had a
because
truck.
she
She would have
wants
had a truck
the?
20 years ago, but she
Is
wouldn't
that
be able
because
to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
is that because she wants the interior space, or sit higher, or kind of like is it a safety concern? What I heard, because the reason why I'm trying to understand this is because there seems to be, or at least a few people said that interest from female buyers seems to be surprisingly high for the Cybertruck. So I'm trying to kind of understand where that interest is coming from.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, most of the people that we talk to, and it's probably 50-50 males, females, the females are much more excited about it all around. But I think, I mean, and this is just my psychology hat, I think that there's a little bit of women want more safety in general. And I mean, when you get in that vehicle, it is literally the safest thing that you'll ever feel that you're in. I mean, I just can't feel any safer in another vehicle. And I drive the Model 3, which is technically the safest car tested, but you literally feel that safety. And I think women they get that all the time. And I think that's a part of it, but I think it's a cross between everything that you're talking about. I mean, she loves the handling, that it handles so well for a truck. She absolutely loves the steer by wire. And it took her like 10 minutes to get used to. So, and she hasn't been driving a bunch of trucks. I mean, she's driven some trucks in her life, but still.
Interesting. Thank you. And how did you get over the hump of some people complain about fingerprints. Did you get yours wrapped?
Sorry, no. She likes the stainless. She's like me, that she likes the stainless. She was thinking about wrapping it in that matte black, but we were both kind of like, well, let's see what happens. Let's test the vehicle for 3 or 4 years and see what actually happens to the steel, and see, wear it over time, and see what, if there is any corrosion or staining or any type of discoloration, and then we can always wrap it down the road. It's like she doesn't have to be like so showy with the vehicle. It's already showy enough. People stop us every day, all the time in the vehicle. It's insane how many people stop you with the vehicle. They're driving right next to you, rolling the window down, trying to talk to you while you're driving. It's kind of dangerous in that aspect.
Okay. Grant, welcome. How are you?
Hey, doing well. I only have a few minutes here, but I wanted to ask one question because I was seeing it bouncing around in some spots. As it relates to the deliveries number we just got, does anyone have a sense if there were some China fleet sales in the mix?
I didn't see any indication of that, but what are you, anyone else on the board? Have you guys seen any fleet sales in China?
I saw something, just for context, that it had been added to a list of state-approved vehicles in some places in the last 24 hours, and then, or the last few days, whatever. And then, yeah, I mean, there are obviously some folks on the Tesla Q side who are kind of curious about that because it's a little interesting. I think the overall take, or overall concern, whatever you want to call it, is that it was a surprising beat to a lot of people. A lot of people are pretty dialed in on these numbers, and it did come across as a surprising thing. Even if people have a perspective on where those forecasts were off, I'd be curious on that.
Well, Troy says Tesla was surprisingly able to work down Model 3 and Model Y inventory in the US. So the US data appears to be where this price came in. And that's probably because of the 0.99% financing. And we're going to see the financial statement impact of that in a couple of weeks here. But it's not that out of the it was above what people expected, but it's not like we got 500,000 deliveries. You know what I mean? And even if for China, even if there was such a thing as fleet sales in China, I saw the approval that you're talking about. I mean, it would be a very small amount, but we think it's not going to be like thousands.
Well, I mean, fleet sales can be bigger, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious if other people had takes. I'm not saying like there's a conspiracy afoot. It's just interesting.
All right, I'll keep an eye out for it. Hey, Grant, we have a coffee bet now. First of all, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to all the, tough times you just went through because people were calling you out for your false prediction, failed prediction that Tesla Cybertruck will never outsell the F-150 Lightning. Would you like to say a few words? Did you cry yourself to sleep?
Yeah, I will, and then I do need to run. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, that was wrong. I think the F-150 Lightning forecast at that point in time, I mean, they've cut production in half multiple times. It's not really the most meaningful prediction in terms of how the business is performing. I think that Cybertruck production numbers are likely below what anyone would have guessed in 2022 when I made that tweet. If we said, oh, it's 15,000 in Q2 of 2024, I don't think that most of the people dunking on me would have felt good about that number. They probably would have had like 5x that number. So it is what it is. I don't really care.
Yeah, I think what kind of caught people off guard there was it will never outsell, and then it did. So if you had to say something like unlikely to outsell, things I learned over the years. Anyway, Magic, how are you?
Good. Hey, just wanted to highlight. Yeah, see, Grant came on and he admitted he was wrong. I mean, I think that's what we all should do. When nobody's right 100%. It takes a real strong person to admit when they were wrong. So I want to see it on both ends.
Okay, great. Question for you. Maybe we can explore this topic for a little bit. So some people thought that Tesla, even Corey Stubin, I think, thought that F-150 Lightning would be more successful than it was. I actually have a bet with him too. I forget the specifics of the bet, but so now that Cybertruck has outsold the F-150 Lightning, how about the crown jewel? When will Cybertruck outsell the F-150 overall? And I'm going to pin at the top of your screens a post about this, and maybe people can submit their guesses, estimates, and maybe reasoning if they want to. This post is at the top of your screens. When do you think Tesla Cybertruck will outsell the Ford F-150 overall? Magic, let's start with you.
Never. That's never going to happen. There's not even a 1% probability. That's never going to happen. Do you know how much volume that they push?
Yeah, in the US, it's something like 500,000 now. And then, North America, probably like 600,000, right? But it's been declining over the years.
I mean, the electric pickup truck is a very niche market. I mean, that's not conspiratorial to say. It's very, very niche.
Alex, what do you think?
That Cybertruck will surpass in sales
Let's say,
F-150 ICE?
yeah. Let's say
Not Lightning you're talking about.
F-150 overall. So ICE, hybrid, EV, etc. Because Ford is really pushing on hybrids right now. I mean, I listened to Jim Farley's interview. I listened half of it. He's kind of like, he's a little unclear about Ford's direction. Like, are you actually trying to go EVs, or are you trying to push in this hybrid method? Or it's a little unclear about his messaging. So anyway, so overall is really what we care about, right? When will, let's say in a given quarter.
Well, first of all, like you got to look at the current line when it's fully ramped up. Elon said it would be like 200,000 a capacity, maybe 250. So if we're talking to overtake F-150, we're talking tripling that line, roughly tripling that line. So I don't know if there's going to be enough yearly demand to do that. That's the only thing. I think demand will continue, but to invest all that capex to reach those numbers in a year or in a quarter, I don't know. But yeah, the ICE, like from Ford, GM, they will go down. That's for sure. They're going to eat part of their market share. That's for sure with just 200,000. But I think we're like maybe like 18 months to 24 months away from being at fully ramped that line to 200 plus K. So that's my take.
Wow. So you think the Cybertruck production line will take another 18 months, so end of next year, to ramp to 200,000?
Oh, easily, maybe even a bit more than that, because it's not just ramping, like Elon mentioned. It's like you're trying to cut out like cost while you're doing this. So it's not just, okay, let's just go faster. It's while you're doing this, you're learning, you're changing stuff, you're iterating on everything that's in that line, both on the truck and the line that builds the truck. So yeah, but before it reaches 200 to 250, I would, 18 to 24 months, like easy, I would say.
Right. Let's go to Hustletown. And I see Larry in the crowd. If Larry would like to come up to speaker, maybe we can talk a little bit more energy as well. Hustletown, go ahead.
Yeah, I went ahead and answered the question. I put 2031, and obviously that's not very confident. I still think that they have to ramp the entire Cybertruck line in Austin, but it's going to require, I think, another location and possibly, how they, plan to sell the cheaper versions of the Cybertruck and whatnot. I think we're just gonna need another location and a lot more refinement so that the lower cost model can get up to speed.
Okay,
2031.
Okay. Larry, would you like to opine on the Cybertruck question, or would you like to talk about energy instead?
Yeah, on the Cybertruck, I think we are probably 2 to 3 years away from the energy density necessary to allow the Cybertruck, to compete with any diesel truck from a perspective of towing. And so that's the category that the truck will not compete in. So wherever trucks are used for towing purposes, we need much higher energy density, much lower cost batteries to be able to compete. So for the moment, that market is not available to electric trucks. Absent that market, I would say that there's no reason at all why the Cybertruck would not outcompete any of the existing trucks on the marketplace. So that's about 50%, I would say, you know, in a rough estimate, 50% of all trucks are never used for towing. 50% probably are. That I could be wrong by, you know, a significant number of points. Now, the Cybertruck, I think, will outcompete all trucks on the market other than that particular category, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't get to that level of production out of Giga Texas. There's more than enough space. Space is not the limiting factor. Production capacity is not the limiting factor. Cost is not the limiting factor. As far as ramping, I think that we will ramp within a year from today to full production capacity. Now, costs may still be a little high, it's true, and costs will continue. They'll have continually work on cost. But I have no doubt at all that this time next year, we'll be at 20,000 trucks per month of production and sales. So at that point, we are really reaching capacity across the line, across the products that we will be shipping, and that is to say the two motor and the three motor trucks. That's my view. I could be wrong.
Thank you, Larry. I really appreciate that. So just to recap, you said Cybertruck is probably 2 to 3 years away from getting to the battery energy density to compete with diesel trucks for towing. So for the near term, Cybertruck is not competing with other trucks on towing function. And you estimated the market for that function at about half of the truck sales. So right now, Cybertruck is addressing half of the market and not really competing in the second half. Okay. Alexander.
Yeah, I mean, as Larry said, like next year, Elon said 5,000 per week. That's 250K per year. I mean, most people that wouldn't be interested in buying a truck is buying a Cybertruck. Maybe that's a market that we are not counting on.
Okay. Magic and then Alex.
Hey, question for Alex and Larry, really quick. Have you guys either directly or indirectly have been paid by Tesla, Elon, or any of his subsidiaries? Have you guys been paid or received compensation of any kind or incentives?
Never. I don't need compensation from Tesla, trust me. Now, have I paid Tesla money? A bunch. But I've never been paid by them in any way, shape, or form. I've had a few likes from Elon. Does that count? No, I haven't been paid.
Yeah, me neither. Like, come on, what kind of questions are those?
Yeah. All right. Chansu?
Yeah, guys, quick question. Do you guys think it's possible that since the sort of next sort of compact gen vehicle will be built on 3 and Y, can Cybercab be built on Cybertruck production lines? Thank you.
Sorry, I was dealing with some moderation issues. So if somebody is requesting to speak and I don't accept the request to speak, there's usually a reason. And if you repeatedly request to speak, you're just increasing my work and reducing the discussion quality, which means I will kick you off the space. If you have a question that you would like to submit, you can reply to the space and I'll read it out if it's a good question. Chancellor, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So, do you guys think there's a possibility that Cybertruck production lines will be used for a Cybercab production?
Alex, what do you think about that?
Well, I've had the idea that the platform, the Cybertruck platform, could be used to do the van that's under the like that tarp, like future vehicles. And so, but I don't think it could be like on the exact same line, but it will use like the same components and maybe the same battery pack and so on and so forth. So there will be some overlap, but I don't think you can like until you get maybe to full like unbox process where maybe you can, you know, Lego and split the line at some critical juncture, and you know, and at the end of that line, whoop, you have a van, and on the other one you have a Cybertruck. I don't see that happening right now, but I think the platform is what they're going to be using. I don't think they're going to design a whole new platform for a van.
And now what about Cybercab? Chancellor's question.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what are we talking about? There's the robo-taxi, there's the Model 2, like 25K car, then there's the Cybercab. I don't know. I think that a van could be a good like Cybercab. You know, if you look at British cabs, you know, they're bigger, very spacious. That's not the concept of what we're seeing with what seems to be called like the robo-taxi design, like the smaller car. So I don't know. Maybe it's a van / Cybercab. That's the one under the tarp. I don't know, but I don't think that the small vehicle that we're seeing, which will undoubtedly be, I think, the unbox process, is going to have anything to do with the Cybertruck line.
Chancellor, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
0.
Hey, so I have a question for Alex and Larry. So you have the link to Rebellion Air as an affiliate on your profile. Can you talk
Oh,
us
not
through
again.
your relationship? Well, let me finish.
Seriously, like we went through this. Every space you come on, I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but every space you come on, you ask the exact same question. You asked it of me and Adrian like 2 days ago. Now you come in this space, it's me and Larry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a bit annoyed
we don't have to talk about this. That's fine. 0, for future reference, you have to clear with me if you want to change topics. These are not, I warned you before, these are not the topics that we care about in this space. Keep them to other spaces. Right now, the topic is a Cybertruck, and if you guys want to change topics, I want to talk about energy because Larry has done a lot of work on energy. Actually, let's switch that for a second. Larry, so there was some ongoing discussions around energy margins in below my tweets. I really enjoyed that conversation. You are 100% convinced, right, that these performance obligations that are outstanding or revenue outstanding to be recognized when Tesla achieves its performance obligations is 100% pure margin. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, and I think any reasonable reading of the notes in the 10Q would show that. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any argument about it anymore.
Yeah. Machine, what do you think about that?
I think my intuition, although I lack the depth of Larry, is that it's hard for me to trust Australians in general. So that's my one hesitancy. But I will ask.
Australian?
Oh, sorry. Are you Kiwi?
Not at all.
South African?
Yeah.
It's all the same. Just they love rugby, pulling down each other's pants. I don't know. It's weird down there. I've lived there. Trust me, I know. And but I will ask maybe a relevant question is that how does this relate to how Tesla operates their warranty reserves for the cars, where there's always this analysis that they
It's
held
completely
more?
different to a warranty reserve.
Okay.
Warranty reserve is a very different thing. Warranty reserve is a perpetual. It doesn't apply to a particular vehicle. It applies to a sum total of production, and it's a reserve in general. It's not a reserve against a particular contract. So in the warranty reserve case, what happens is there's a statistical analysis of the likelihood of claim, and that statistical analysis translated into a dollar amount per type of vehicle, and that dollar amount is accumulated, and any expenses are expensed against that accumulation. And over time, the reserves are reassessed, percentage perhaps changed, and the practice goes on ad infinitum. The performance reserve is a specific contractual amount of money on a specific project that is created when the project is invoiced, or when the project actually is delivered, to be more specific, and is realized as the performance of the capital good item is assessed against that obligation, and is either released or charged, or expenses, or a penalty is charged against them, or expenses are incurred in order to adjust or perfect the performance. So it's a completely different thing. The only relationship between the two is that they're reserves, and the reserves which are represented by a cash item in the balance sheet and an obligation item on the other side of the balance sheet. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. And Tesla's been doing this for many years because they've had these mega packs or energy projects like in South Australia or Moss Landing around here in California, but we just don't get the insight into how this is happening at a specific
Actually,
instance,
that's not a correct statement. Performance obligations is a new item on this balance sheet since the third quarter last year. I'd have to check that back. So before this, they did not have such an obligation. I think that the obligation occurred after, I'm trying to remember his name, the guy who just took over the management of that last year. I think he implemented that in contracts when he took over the contractual managing those contracts, and he fashioned a new contract that implemented these performance obligations and performance warranties to the customer. And I think Tesla did that because they recognized that they were delivering more value than their competitors in the marketplace, and they wanted a way to monetize that improved performance in a way that the customer could recognize that value and measure that value, and therefore realize that value for both Tesla and for the customer. So this is a new item on their balance sheet. They have had before penalty obligations, which they've recognized, but that was a very small amount, and that amount is now cleared out of the balance sheet almost 100%. Well, it actually got cleared out of the balance sheet, I think, third quarter of last year. I may be out by one or other quarter because, at my age, my memory is not that great.
Machine.
So do you expect these to be recognized over a shorter or longer duration? Like, could this be spread out for each project over years?
Over years. So I'll read you what Tesla says. They say revenue recognized from deferred Revenue balances as of December 31, 2023 and 2022 is 417 million and 230 million for the 3 months ended in March 31, 2024 and 2023. As of March 31, 2024, blah, 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 there's 3.86 billion. Of this amount, we expect to recognize 1 billion in the next 12 months and the rest over the remaining performance obligation period. I think that performance obligation period is somewhere between 5 and 15 years, and I can't establish it. It seems to vary by project.
Thanks, Larry. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your really good feedback, and I apologize for calling you Australian. I know that's almost as bad as calling an Argentinian a Brazilian. They're very insulted too. But I just one last question. Do you or have any of your relatives ever come into owning an emerald mine in South Africa?
There are no emerald mines in South Africa, my dear friend.
Wow. So Machine, based on this conversation, before I go to Magic, based on this conversation, are you changing your estimates for intrinsic value of Tesla Energy today?
Yeah, I think it would have to go up, like we mentioned on Friday. Yeah, that's pretty clear. I trust Larry. And Larry, I trust.
Okay, so how much is it going up?
I think like 30% or so.
Okay, so about $150 billion.
Yeah.
Okay. Magic.
Hey, speaking about warranties and accounting for future warranty expenses, does anybody here know how many of the warranty expenses are coded?
No, let's stick with energy for a second. Larry, do you agree with Machine's estimates of $150 billion of intrinsic value for energy?
I'd have to do some analysis. It seems extraordinarily low. $150 billion seems extraordinarily low. Look, energy is going to produce, something like $4 billion of revenue this year, and growing at the rate of about 50% per annum. Tesla said that they, while I see Alex got his hands up, why don't we ask Alex to talk, and I will pull up the number that will give us a much better figure. I don't want to talk off the top of my head. I want to talk from the actual numbers.
Are you watching, Larry? Are you looking at the screen on YouTube right now?
No. What do we have on the screen on YouTube?
Alex, do you have your hand up, or am I not seeing it?
Nope, my hand is not up. Why?
I'm looking at the Tesla Live.
Yeah, you're watching on YouTube. So what happens on YouTube is when people raise their hands, for whatever reason, it gets stuck there on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on YouTube. I'm actually on the browser on X.
Oh, I see. It's more of a desktop thing. Sorry. Okay, because YouTube is actually taking it from desktop version of background, so that makes sense. So yeah, there's a difference between user experience on the app versus the desktop on so many levels. But yeah, so he doesn't have his hand up. But while Larry, I have you up here, Magic is just very focused on warranty, reserves, and expenses. And I know you have done a lot of work over the years on warranty expenses.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he has a question for you, Magic.
Yeah, so this has already been a critical audit matter in the past. It relates to how they're coding their warranty expenses. Specifically, they're coding way too many repairs as goodwill. And you're like, okay, well, it doesn't really matter, right? But again, it affects how you accrue for the warranty expense and how you accrue for future expenses, because you don't have to recognize a goodwill expense until it happens. So you can under accrue a lot of your warranty expenses.
Okay, so that's all bullshit. I don't know where you get this bullshit from, but it's all bullshit. I've dealt with this before in the past.
Yeah.
So all auto companies code a very significant percentage of the expense as goodwill. It doesn't make the slightest bit of difference to the balance sheet. When you code it as goodwill, it goes as a service repair, goes into service cost, and affects service gross margin, and it directly impacts the balance sheet instantly. So there's no value add to coding it as goodwill, no value add at all. All it does is directly impact your balance sheet in that quarter. Now, the fact of the matter is that Tesla has had a good 10 years of warranty experience. In that 10 years, the warranty reserve as a percentage of revenue has constantly increased. So the notion that the warranty expenses, by the way, while service gross margin has constantly increased. So all this bullshit about service work not being properly coded is therefore shown to be incorrect, because if your service margins are constantly improving and your warranty reserve is constantly increasing above its warranty level reserve percentage, then there's no argument about incorrect coding or hiding the warranty or not accounting correctly for the warranty. So what is your point?
My direct question is, in the 2022 10K, did the auditor list automotive warranty reserve as a critical audit matter that requires substantial professional judgment by management?
That statement is in every single 10K, every single 10Q. It's the standard wording for warranty reserves.
So again, you're saying that they are properly accounting for warranty 100%, right? Is that what you're claiming?
Not only are they properly accounting for warranty, but I will tell you something. I study every quarter the warranty reserves, not only of Tesla, but of all the other car manufacturers, all the other OEMs. And I publish a comparison. And Tesla consistently, year after year after year, has the lowest expense of all the American OEMs and is on par with Honda and Toyota for absolute expense across all OEMs globally. So it's all bullshit. All of it. This whole warranty expense bullshit is bullshit.
Yeah, so that's
Magic, sorry, we have to move on. We have other topics and other speakers. And this is a topic that you bring up often. And I just want to kind of give you a chance to ask it to Larry, who I know has been following this very topic in very extreme detail over the years. And this bear talking point, it's kind of repeatedly comes up, and it's never really materialized anything over the last 10 years. I've been following this company. So we need to move on to more interesting, cutting edge discussions that I'm interested in. Just for fun.
I was enjoying that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but then I was like, he's about to get a heart attack.
Yeah, thanks. Larry, that's great, despite anything that machine might say about you. Yeah, I just had a couple questions on the performance obligations, if that's all right. First, just so that I make sure I know.
Just for fun, your sound quality is a little low. Are you covering your microphone?
Yeah, let me. Is it any better right now?
Not really.
No, it's still the same.
Hold on. Let me turn off voice isolation. How about now?
Yeah, so much better. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So, is it right that the performance obligation amounts? It's basically like amounts that are contracted but not yet fulfilled and not yet paid?
No, no. They're two different amounts. The performance obligation is not that. The amount of the unpaid or undelivered portion of a contract which is not yet paid is simply an amount that is, it's in the contract. They haven't delivered the item. There's an amount there. And that's kind of like orders on hand, unfulfilled orders on hand. And it's represented at best by inventory or work in progress. And it's not invoiced and it's not brought to book. And it does not represent future potential future margin, because it is simply going to be next month's or next year's revenue. So that's one item in the note, and that's a separate item from performance obligations. Performance obligations is, I've delivered the good to you, it's working, I've been paid for it, and now I've guaranteed you that you're going to get this amount of energy out of the battery at this amount of rate over this period of time. And if you achieve that, then you're going to pay me this amount of money. If you don't achieve that, then you're going to pay me less of this amount of money. And so that performance obligation has got nothing to do with delivering the equipment that is work in progress or that is on order. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, got it. Okay, so it's essentially for a product that's been delivered, but they like sort of contractually spell out some performance,
yes,
some like SLA kind of.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yep. Yeah, that's helpful. And then, so in terms of the numbers, so I think in December the obligation was something like 3.4 billion.
Yep.
And it went up to 3.9 billion in Q1.
3.86, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the expectation, they said, for the next 12 months in both quarters was around 1 billion to be recognized. So I guess I was just wondering.
No. 1 billion in the next 12 months. This was at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Right. In each quarter, I think it was about 1 billion that they expect to be recognized over the next 12 months.
No,
so I was just wondering.
No. You that's 4 times the amount. They expect to recognize 1 billion in the next 12 months. So it's not 1 billion a quarter, it's 1 billion over the next 12 months.
Right. Yeah. Understood. So what does that mean for you in terms of where the margin goes? I think it was around 26% last quarter. Where does that go given these obligation amounts?
Yeah, it was actually 24.6% last quarter. I'm expecting the margin. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It was 23.3% last quarter. I'm expecting it to jump to 27% this quarter as a result of that revenue coming in this quarter. So we had 420 million of revenue in Q1 at 23.3%. 24.6%, correction. 403 million at 24.6%. I expect that in Q2, we will see 900 million at 27%. So it's had the impact of about a 2.4%, about a 10% jump in margin on more than double the revenue. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I'm kind of wondering, so given the expectation amount was about 1 billion in each, I know it's not the quarter, it's the next 12 months, but that amount was the same. I guess, is your expectation that the amount they're recognizing is going up each quarter?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's going up each quarter, because it's cumulative quarter by quarter. And it started, I think, in the second quarter of third quarter of last year. And secondly, the revenue itself is going up so that it will accumulate a larger and larger amount each quarter.
Yeah. And I guess it's sort of on the order of hundreds of millions being recognized per quarter and going up.
Yeah, so it's only 2% of revenue this quarter. So, but it'll be like 4% of revenue next quarter, and so on. And the reason it's only 2% this year is because this quarter is such a dramatic leap in revenue. So it's a fairly large amount in relation to previous quarters of revenue, but this quarter's revenue is more than doubled prior quarter's revenue.
Great. And I'll just ask one last question and then can move on. But are you able to actually calculate out the exact amount if you look back at the different quarters, or is this sort of based on rough estimates?
No, you can't, because these things are so lumpy. You don't know, what the obligation is per project. You only have this this one figure for the end of quarter. By the third quarter of this year, we'll get a better fix on it. We'll see the amount fluctuate, and we'll see the they'll give us the expectation for the next 12 months. So we'll see that fluctuate, and so this is really, I think, the Megapack XL, the new series of Megapacks that these contracts are written on. So we'll only get a sense of it, by about third quarter, maybe even the fourth quarter of this year.
Thanks a lot.
Larry, let me ask you a question. So this appears to be a very material, positive, development in our understanding of Tesla's margin. But when I asked you what you expect Tesla margin to be, Megapack margins to be a few years out, you said 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Why not higher, 35, 40%?
It's a very good question, and the answer is that it's a very competitive market against the Chinese products, and they will always moderate margins. They will constantly moderate margins.
I got you. So you expect, especially in China, Megapack prices to decline in the future as production installations ramp.
As battery costs drop dramatically. I expect battery costs to drop very dramatically over the next 2 years. When people were telling us there was going to be a lithium shortage and there were no lithium mines and we kept reaching the end of lithium, blah, 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 I was projecting a drop in the price of lithium, a significant drop in the price of lithium. And that's just the reality of how mines work. I know a lot about mining. I had clients in the mining business. I even had very significant investments in the mining business in South Africa. I know a lot about mining. I know a lot about just the ability of the earth to deliver these products we need to us. And I saw the price of lithium collapse. And so batteries are going to collapse in price, and it's going to change the dynamics of the BEV market quite significantly, and also of batteries. So I was looking up these numbers for you guys. Well, anyway, any more questions on that subject?
We're going to go to Omar in a second, and I would like to get an update on 12.4.3, but kind of just to wrap this, one more thing I want to ask you about on energy. So Tesla has a lithium refining project in Texas. Where does that stand? How optimistic are you about that?
I think that Tesla will do extremely well in its lithium refining because it's trying to explore new technologies, or a new technology, an improved technology. It's not trying to make a huge amount of money out of it, although I suspect that they will do very well out of it. And it's also trying to offset any threat of it's trying to onshore the work. So it's a strategic project, and that's really how it should be seen. I don't think it's going to have any impact on the dollars and cents on the bottom line or on the top line.
Thank you. Finflexity?
Yeah, I actually had some more news on the lithium front, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so like near Nevada, there is a lithium mine from an American company, and they had a contractual agreement with Tesla that if their project goes well by 2026, Tesla will definitely put them as a supplier for Giga Nevada. And we had a development in their technology today, and analysts are expecting that their operating margin will significantly improve as they have figured out a way to reduce their refining cost of acid using acid around 50%. So they expect the operating margins to become slightly better, but they projected that revenues will go down more in comparison. So that may project that we'll have lower costs on that front from lithium. So Giga Nevada might have lower costs for lithium in particular.
Thank you, Finflexity. All right.
Just
now we have Larry.
I just wanted to give you one number. In Tesla's 2023 Investor Day keynote, they projected a 1 terawatt hour annual energy storage production. 1 terawatt hour. So that just gives you an idea of how large they anticipate the energy business to be. So even if the cost per gigawatt hour falls by 30%, 40%, 50%, this business is still going to be a $40 to $50 billion business, $50 billion business every quarter, and so this is not going to be a trivial business.
Inflexity.
Yeah, just on that front, I have been talking to some people who are in the energy space already, and they share a similar view. So they're basically installing these large energy projects, but the only thing that they are viewing as a cap on how much you can grow for the next 3 years is the fact that you don't have surrounding infrastructure ready. So they're saying that you don't have high voltage equipment for making large products. And especially in the US and Europe, they are saying that that will cap the growth rate to 2x for the next 3 years.
Yes.
And after that, growth rate will significantly increase if it normalizes.
I'm absolutely aligned with that Finflexity. I think the other problem in the United States is the interconnection, the politics of interconnection and transmission lines. So yeah, I'm aligned with you on what you said.
Thank you. I want to we were earlier talking about Cybertruck, and we touched on interest from female buyers for the Cybertruck, and we have on the board Adina. Adina, would you like to give us your perspective on it as well?
Hello. Thank you for having me on, and I'm sorry I'm a new person doing this, so I apologize for bothering you with the request. I'm wifey. I'm the one that has the Cybertruck here in North Carolina, and in the area that we live in is a very rural area, and literally I get attacked by, not attacked, but like every single day it's like a 20-minute discussion about the Cybertruck and educating people about it. And I just want to bring forward, yes, trucks are usually designed for capability, carrying stuff, doing, construction, etc. However, trucks are also pivoting into a luxury game. These trucks, for me personally, when I first visualized it 4.5 years ago, because I patiently waited instead of getting my ex. Anyways, I saw instantly how this is like a marriage between an SUV and a truck. Yes, when you have an SUV, it is comfortable, it's, it has that leg room, it's powerful. However, you're limited on what you could actually carry, because of all the chairs and, et cetera, the seats and blah, blah, blah. But having the ability of marrying the two together with this Cybertruck is mind blowing. It is very safe and it's luxury at the same time and utility because I can grab 20 barrels of hay or and bring them on my truck and spread them out on my yard. So it's that complexity of what exactly are you using this for? I'm not saying that this is going to be a vehicle for the typical construction individual, because they need to carry ladders and more tools, etc. However, for me, middle-aged mom that has soccer games to go to and little things that we have to fix in the house, it's useful for me and also luxury. I feel like a princess, honestly speaking. It is basically flying on first class seating. and
That's
and I just
awesome.
wanted to share that because my husband, he was not a believer. He was like, oh my God. And then he finally did convert into understanding the passion that I have for the Cybertruck. And I just wanted to share it out there. I listened in
That's
at
awesome.
lunchtime. I
Yeah.
heard Ed talking and I was like, what is he talking to? Or, and then when I pulled up X and I saw that he was there, I was like, hold on, wait, he's talking about me. So I was like, let
That's
me let
awesome.
me chime in and let you guys know that it's not just the number crunching that you guys are speaking of. It's not just, it's a feeling of safety. It's a feeling of luxury. It's a feeling that I can go shopping, to Lowe's or wherever and have the ability of putting whatever I need in the truck. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Nadina. And Ed, thanks for bringing. Ed, I think Nadina just called you out that you weren't a believer. She made you a believer. How do you feel about that?
Well, believe it or not, and I hate to admit this, but she's the one that introduced me to Tesla at all. Oh, apologize. Somebody's calling it. So it was, hang on a second.
Well, while Ed takes care of that, I just want to say thank you very much for both of you being on the speaker board. I really appreciate it when people bring in their spouses, kids, and their family, because I do worry that sometimes this space takes away from family time. So I recommend people bringing their family into the space, and so we can all hang out together. I love that.
You're most welcome. I just wanted to give a visual. It's basically hauling your active lifestyle all together in one, putting a bowl on it. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to throw that out there because it's not about the number crunching. It's about having the flexibility of the versatileness of it, as well as the luxury.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both for coming up. All right, we have Omar in the space. Omar, would you like to give us an update on 12.4.2? And I hear that 12.4.3 is rolling out to employees too. Welcome.
Hey, yeah, really exciting stuff we're seeing with 12.4.2. I mean, almost every drive is zero intervention. It's smooth, it's natural, it's very impressive. Still a little bit slow at times, but it seems to be improving in that regard as it matures. So I've said I think 12.4.2 is ready to go wide. I think AI driver, Dirty Tesla, or others also said I think this is ready to go wide. So it's looking like they're ready for release, but we did see a 12.4.3 go out to employees yesterday. And Farzad shared a screenshot of an employee who had that built on their car. So I would expect probably early access testers, if all goes well, to get that build today. And hopefully, if all goes well, for it to continue to roll out to new customers who haven't received 12.4 yet over the weekend. Now, it seems Tesla's being very, very cautious on this. I think they're rolling it out much later than they normally would, just because of the major change to the driver monitoring system. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny on this. So I think they really are putting extra effort into really validating this. I mean, it kind of blows my mind that everybody's still on 12.3.6. I've been using 12.4 for, I think a month now. I think with 12.4.3 for sure, this is ready to start rolling out to at least a few customers, and it's going to be a really big deal. I think people are really going to get excited about it. 1 month from the 8.8 event, and we're getting hands-free self-driving. So I think it's absolutely going to live up to the hype, not just because of the no nag, which is obviously a game changer for existing new users alike, but just because of the improvement in the driving, the decrease in interventions. I think it is just unbelievable when you're in the car. I mean, you check out some of these videos, like I'm going to try and annotate them with a little bit of commentary later tonight, and you see all the things it's doing, right? Like I turned on the system on one of the drives and it's not moving, and then this woman just walks right in front of my car. So I hadn't even seen her that she was coming. If I was manually driving the car, it might have created a dangerous situation. But the car has eyes in the back of its head. It saw her, it waited, it pulled out, it went around a stopped car while there was a car pulling out. It waited, there's pedestrians coming in every direction on a crowded shopping street. It waits for them, turns right at the perfect moment, not too soon, not too late. And as it's turning, there's a person with their door open getting into the car, and it just goes around that. And it just does it all so smoothly and naturally. You just feel completely comfortable. It is really, not an exaggeration to say it's 5x to 10x better. And I think that'll probably depend, based on where you live. It might be, 2x better, 5x better, 8x better, depending on what kind of interventions you've been seeing. But I mean, it's just crazy to me that this is only a hardware 3 model and it's already getting this kind of performance.
Kansu, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, no, I'm just still on 12.3.6. But I really think the reason why its rollout's been sort of slow is because it's 12 V12 has set a very high bar for customers to even expect something better after that. So it just really gets hard to meet and beat those expectations.
Okay. Yoda, how are you?
I'm not doing well, man.
What
This
happened?
manual driving is scary. Because I'm going to Taiwan to visit some of the technology companies there. I'm not subscribing to FSD for the next few days, right? And manual driving is not good.
Well, we will pray for you. All right. Yoda, I want to ask you, NVIDIA got a downgrade by New Street Research, Pierre Farragut, from buy to neutral. Did you see that downgrade, and how do you feel about it? I know you're an NVIDIA investor, and I will go to Omar to get his thoughts on it too.
Yeah, I think I'm putting not a ton of weight on what analysts say. Luckily, I understand the Taiwanese ecosystem there. I understand as a user of AI applications as well as on the development side. I know that we're just in the first couple of innings. They are not only going to get into data center, but sovereign AI, and much sort of future-looking applications around the edge side. I think they're about to buy Supermicro as well, so I'm actually quite bullish. Let's let the selling happen, in the next little while, but I'll be actually adding.
Okay. Omar, how do you feel about this downgrade from New Street Research? And Pierre Farragut is obviously well known to the Tesla investors. He also covers Tesla. I didn't read the entire note, but I just kind of saw the headline. And how do you feel about that downgrade for NVIDIA?
Well, I think that there's rarely been an instance in the stock market where a stock goes up in a vertical line like this and just continues going up in a vertical line forever. I think investors realize that. So at some point, you're going to see this sort of NVIDIA boom stop, and it always gets a little bit ahead of itself just because of market psychology. People get so into it, they start saying, "Oh, Jensen is a god. That's why I became rich." When, he's a great CEO, but you see a little bit of this sort of bubble mentality, right? So when you have that kind of mentality take hold, there's always a moment where it kind of pops. But I'm not really concerned with the sort of boom and bust cycle. I'm thinking very long term here. As, sort of the bubble pops, I'll probably just continue to hold it, maybe accumulate more shares over time. I'm not sure that, it's easy to kind of look at this and say it can't keep going up forever. It's already a $3 trillion company. I mean, how big can they get? But I'm not necessarily seeing any of the trends that drove their rise waving. So we may have several more good quarters left and the stock may go significantly higher. I don't know when that moment is, when the bubble sort of pops, so to speak. And if you are able to figure it out, you could be a very rich person trading options or something like that. But we're all here left to speculate, and often analysts are quite wrong about forecasting what's going to happen in the future. So I'll just continue to hold, and even if the earnings sort of get materially worse, the stock starts falling, I'll probably just default to holding unless there's really a major material change that impacts their competitive position in the market long term.
Okay. So Yoda is holding, Omar is holding NVIDIA, and Yoda is in standby for a dip potentially to buy more shares in NVIDIA. Larry, do you have a view on NVIDIA? Do you hold any shares?
I do. I do. I like NVIDIA. I've held NVIDIA for many years now. I think I first bought NVIDIA in 2014 or 2016. I can't recall, but it's been a perennial for me. I have it in all my children's trusts, all my grandchildren's trusts. So yeah, I like the share, and I really take the same view as Holmar's. Omar's correct. It's a really good share to hold because that's a really good company. And these shares that you own in really good companies, when they spike into impossible lands, you don't sell them on the spike because firstly there's tax implications, and secondly it's a very expensive joke if you happen to sell and it spikes again, or and it drops and then you don't buy it again. It's just crazy to try and trade these things. So yeah, I just hold it. I don't see any change. I see the company constantly improving. I don't see it getting any worse, so I'll continue to hold
it. Okay, thank you. I bring up NVIDIA because it is obviously a very popular stock. And a lot of people in this space also hold NVIDIA. At the top of your screens is a question I posed yesterday. Which 3 stocks are your top holdings? And if you go through the responses, you'll see NVIDIA is probably after Tesla, NVIDIA is probably the most popular holding for the folks in this space. And just a quick note, I encourage people to reply to these questions the ad revenue from those questions help support this space and also help shape the conversation in these spaces. Today, these questions get about a few dozen, maybe the most popular ones will get about 100 replies. If thousands of people reply to it, this space would be financially sustainable. So if everyone in the space replied to the questions I asked throughout the day, it would first inform the conversations and it would also lead to this space being financially sustainable. So I appreciate all the replies and the likes and the reposts. Thank you very much, everybody. All right. Omar, anything else you want to say on FSD? You know, we're waiting for this 12.4.3 to roll out. It's, as you mentioned, AI driver and Dirty Tesla, and you believe 12.4.2 is ready to roll out to wide and will make a material difference in people's experiences. Anything else you want to kind of point out before this weekend? Hopefully it rolls out this weekend.
Look, I won't say anything, but I think it'll speak for itself. You really just have to hear from the users who use it once it starts rolling out. And I think their comments will say everything. I mean, this is kind of like the launch of the iPhone in a way. Even though it seems like, okay, it's just another FSD update, 12.3, 12.4, what's the difference? But before with the NAG, this was really something that was just not intuitive to people. It just wasn't. Now anybody can figure out how to use it. You get in the chair, you punch in where you want to go, you turn it on, and that's it. And then it takes you there with no interventions. It can even park at the end. So it's now completely intuitive to use on city streets, on highways. You can take a multi-hour long drive and just rest your hands and not have to touch the wheel. That's a game-changing product. It's not just another point update. And, it's not even like, oh, you have to be super aware of interventions ready to take over at a moment's notice. It has very few interventions. And the interventions it has, it usually comes to a safe stop. It's not like I got to grab the wheel really quick to avoid an accident. And you look at Mark Zuckerberg, he's out on the ocean. Elon's spending 4th of July at Giga Texas at the training cluster, getting that thing online. Because when we get that thing online, we're going to have a model that's 5 times better 5 times larger, performs better. And I mean, it just looks really exciting when you look down at the roadmap. So I think the removal of the nag is this now really becoming an intuitive product and a must-have product. If you're anyone who uses highway autopilot, which is every Tesla user, yes, absolutely, it's worth it to pay $99 a month to remove the nag. It's going to be too tempting not to. So they've been waiting to roll this out for some time, and I've been wanting them to roll it out. I said, I hope they roll it out last weekend. Didn't happen. Went out to, early access testers, not the broader customer base. I've been dying for them to roll this out because it's going to be such a huge moment. It's going to trigger, I think, a wave of excitement, just like the release of 12 did. And it's looking like that moment is getting very close. You know, um, I'm hopeful it'll happen this weekend, at least for early access testers. I think it will. But really, I want to see those 12.3.6 users moved over. And yeah, this is really a game changing product that's coming to market. Cars will never be the same again. Now that this feature kind of exists where your car can just take you around the city, take you around the highway, and you don't have to touch the wheel, it's going to make any car that doesn't have that feature look very antiquated very quickly.
Thanks, Omar. Hey, Omar, so changing topics for a little bit, another stock that shows up often below that tweet at the top is Palantir. Very interesting company. I know you had a visit with them recently. Is that correct? Would you like to give us an overview, maybe a summary of your visit with them?
Yeah, Palantir is an interesting company. It was founded by Peter Thiel, and I don't have any holdings in Palantir personally. Um, I'd maybe consider looking at it after the meeting, but seems like it's trading at like 200 times earnings, so I'm not necessarily sure. I think I have to dig a little bit deeper. But essentially, what they do is they work with big enterprises and governments, and they take in a ton of their data and kind of unify it in one place and help them look at it and make decisions. So they showed me, for example, like a US military kind of demo where they're showing China and Taiwan. They're able to see live what the position of enemy ships are, what the position of US ships, US ally assets are, and like look at satellite imagery and say, oh, okay, here's a boat, but they turned off their tracker. So like this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. And they say, for example, okay, I can click on any of these ships, I can see how much fuel they have. So all of these data sources are coming from separate sort of systems, fuel tracking, positioning, etc. But I'm aggregating them all into this overall view where I can sort of sift through that data and make critical, sort of national security decisions. They also are using it in like Tyson Foods, so major corporations. So um, I mean, they're doing some very cool stuff. They're actually doing a lot more stuff with LLMs and operationalizing LLMs into your business than I knew of. But I know they've got a really passionate retail community. They kind of invited me over to their office because they want me to tweet about them. They want me to talk about them. They want to get um, like the Tesla community also. They're like, hey, there's a lot of crossover here. And I haven't really looked at it deeply as an investment. I don't have a position yet, but definitely after that meeting and kind of looking at some of the things they're working on, I could see how there is potentially an AI play here, which is that if you can help these companies sort of aggregate their data, that might be very useful for the AI. Like one of the things they're doing, for example, with the LLMs is you can kind of plug in any LLM, Llama 3, OpenAI, whatever, but you can take that sort of big pool of company data that they've pulled in from all the sources, and you can allow the LLM to access that to sort of, um, make decisions, even like complex business decisions, like where you want to route inventory, stuff, sort of make decisions, even like complex business decisions, like where you want to route inventory, stuff like that. Like one of the really here, we can see the commodity prices of that feed, and we can track that feed down into feeding the chicken, killing the chicken, packaging the chicken, shipping the chicken, and you can see like every cost in the entire business across that sort of supply chain, and have that like query any of that, run programs that look at all of that as sort of a database and sort of help you gain intelligence from your business. So they're doing some cool things, but I have to sort of do some further financial evaluation before I consider it as a position.
Okay. Palantir stock is up 5% today. In the last 5 days, up 7%. In the last month, up 18%. In the last 6 months, up 69%. It's definitely an interesting company. As I've mentioned before, I want us to better understand these technology companies, mega tech companies, because they really tie into each other in terms of services and products. They all compete for investment capital, all compete for talent, employees. So I want us to build, and Palantir is a good one. So I think for us to kind of dig into it a little bit more, along with Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, etc. Finflexity.
Yeah, Palantir's product suite is actually very profound in the sense that they have made it quite easy for big enterprises to make sure that their engineers as well as their managers can integrate the whole suite. So there, I have seen some products of this, and by the looks of it, they have really catered it to the point that you don't essentially need an engineer to code the solution for you. As a manager, if you have basic understanding, basic logic, then you can build a workflow yourself to automate your part of the business. And I think that's a very big thing. And actually, just one point on NVIDIA. So the analysts that had downgraded the stock yesterday, today, I think, yeah, they said something which stuck with me from commentary from Micron. So Micron basically supplies high bandwidth memory chips to NVIDIA and many other providers as well. What they said was that the AI foundry services that they give for memory chips has full capacity till 2025. After 2025, their orders aren't at full capacity yet. And that's pretty much the whole tracking across the industry itself. So analysts predict a 2x increase in revenue for this year. And then it's basically 35% growth rate for 2026-27. And that tracks across the whole industry. And they're saying that their Micron's growth rate for after 25 will be a bit lower. So I think that tracks across the whole industry slowly as well.
Great, thank you. Omar, any thoughts on what Finflex just said?
I'm not sure what he just said.
Yeah, so he said the revenue growth is set to slow down substantially for Micron after 2025, and this is reverberating across the semiconductor industry. NVIDIA has come down a little bit. It just got a downgrade from New Street Research. Any thoughts around that? Otherwise, we can switch to Tesla a little bit, and then I have some questions around politics for you.
Long term, the demand for inference and trading compute looks to be way higher than anyone is expecting today. And I think really as the economic value proves itself out, this is going to continue to accelerate. So this isn't to say there won't be bumps along the road. There won't be sort of gluts of supply and shortages of supply along the way at various times. But generally, as I look decades out, I see our demand for training and inference compute being much higher than it is today.
Yoda?
Yeah, really, today is like the dial-up days in the 90s when the internet first was accessible to the masses. You would be using the internet once in a while during your day and you would have to dial up. Now compare that with today where the internet is ubiquitous. The information flowing are millions of times richer and larger than what's going through in the 90s. This is going to be happening with AI inference. It's going to be less about training. It's once the models are built, sure, the models will be larger. They will need to be better, but the majority of the compute requirements will be happening on the inference side.
Wessex.
Hey, Yaman, what's happening?
How's it going, man?
I'm having a great time. Just riding around in my Cybertruck, and I want to pull over and ask some questions about Palantir real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
To Omar. Hey, Omar, did you see any other AI besides LLMs, like any other method in which you're using AI?
Well, they don't seem to be training a lot of their own models, but they're allowing you to overlay other models. Like, for example, they had a model from a third party company that was finding ships that weren't on the tracker using satellite imagery, and they just kind of overlay that in. For their LLMs, they're kind of helping you allow the LLM to access your data inside Palantir, but they're not actually training their own models. They're kind of just allowing you to plug in whatever you've got whether it's Llama or OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever. So I think they're sort of positioning themselves around AI and around the you know, operationalization of AI into your business, but they're not spending a lot of money training your own models, which from a financial perspective might actually be kind of good, where you're able to sort of capitalize on the AI hype without having to waste a bunch of money training your own model that's a state of the art LLM or anything like that.
What did you find as kind of their moat or competitive position that prevents other competitors from kind of catching up to them quickly? For example, is it if they're not training AI, and it seems like they're using LLMs so that you can query your own data as a customer, and maybe I have that wrong. Is it just simply the integration and user interface and things like that that really give them a competitive edge, or how might you summarize that?
Well, I mean, you'd probably really have to speak to their customers, but probably, government contracting, large corporate procurement. These are huge barrier to entries for most startups. I mean, the offering seems very large and complicated. I mean, they're probably doing all kinds of things, and they really work with customers on a case by case basis. Historically, they've done a lot of sort of hand holding with each customers, developing sort of shared solutions for them, based on the technology they have, but really customizing the solution for each customer. Like one way I've kind of thought about Palantir historically is they're just a way to bring Silicon Valley software talent to governments and large corporations that don't have it, and design sort of modern systems that kind of tie all the legacy systems together and allow people to actually look at the data and see what's going on in the organization across all those sources.
Yoda.
Omar, I just had a question for you. When companies like Palantir comes across your desk and you think the company has some good potential, how do you stay focused on Tesla, um, without sort of divesting away from it, or perhaps you do a little bit. If you could just share with us how you stay concentrated on Tesla.
Well, Tesla to me is the most interesting of all the big tech companies. Is Palantir going to change the world tomorrow? I mean, not really. They've been used for many years. Is Apple going to change the world tomorrow with their next iPhone? No, it's going to be just like the last iPhone. Is Google going to change the world with some new version of their search engine? No. Is Instagram going to change the world with the next version of Instagram? No. Is Tesla going to change the world with their next product? Yes, they are. It's going to, I mean, it's like the smartphone. The world won't resemble what it looked like before computers gained the ability to move around the world on their own without our guidance. So it's just much more interesting. And, as an investor, about 50% of my equity investments are in an S&P 500 index fund in my 401k. So, you know, most of the time I outperform the S&P 500 with my own stock picking, but often I don't. So, just S&P 500 index fund, kind of boring, but it's kind of a set it and forget it for your 401k. Then the other 50% are stocks that I pick. And of those, Tesla's now 33%. Nvidia was getting pretty close to Tesla. Now it's only 18%. So, honestly, I should probably buy more Tesla over time. I probably will continue to accumulate as it as I get the opportunity to. But with Tesla, I mean, it's just the most interesting to cover. It's the most interesting to talk about. I talk about other companies. I invest in other companies. Nvidia's had great financial performance, but could I talk about the H100 all day? Not really. I mean, it's not that exciting. It's a GPU. It's a good GPU. You get in a Tesla. I mean, Tesla is just something that'll make you happy if you buy it. Just everywhere you go, it's just a blast. Like the thing is just ridiculous as a product. Just driving it around, it just makes you so happy. And to have that kind of power where just anything you imagine, it can just be, you know, you're just moving within a second of thinking that you want to move. I mean, yeah, you can't really explain it. It's really just something visceral, something that every customer kind of understands. They love it every day, no matter what they have to do, even if they have to do something lame. This car is just filled with so many convenience features, so many little things, like not having a key. I could just walk away. I have my phone. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would lose my key. Oh shit, where'd my key go? I'm late. Ah, I can't find the key. Oh, it fell in the couch. And like what a waste of time. And now it's just on the phone. And pre-cooling or preheating. Remember when you'd get in the car and it's so hot in a summer day, and then you get in the winter and you're freezing cold and you're waiting for the heater to turn on, but it starts blowing cold air at you, and you're like, oh my God, that's just out of my life now. You got this great sound system, you got Netflix. I mean, the thing can even drive for you. It's just such a big quality of life improvement. It's like, when you got your first MacBook or you got your first iPhone. So, I mean, I'm just I'm just a tech fan, right? And that's always guided my investing since I was in my 6th grade stock picking game. And I beat the stock picking game by investing in Apple because I liked Apple. They made cool products. And then my parents said, "Okay, let's open you a real stock account and go buy some of the stocks that you like." And I did, and I built a position in Apple that just grew immensely. So I realized from a very young age, if you just kind of follow your heart, you just kind of see what tech actually just excites you. That's probably a really good path. And Tesla is, just that company for me. Like I realized, with Apple, it was one of the few companies where I would buy any product that they would announce and you knew it was going to be good. You didn't really have to try it. You just sort of buy it and you get it and it's always good because they always do a good job. And I've realized that Tesla has become this only company for me that's true of the second
Yeah.
company. The Model 3 Performance and the Cybertruck, I didn't drive either of them before I bought them. But after I took delivery and drove them for the first time, I was just completely blown away.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Omar. So over the last couple of days, there's some questions around Tesla's PE ratio. You mentioned earlier Palantir's PE ratio as a reason for not investing in them just yet, but it's on our radar. What do you think about the idea that Tesla does not deserve 100x PE today, 3 times higher than an average Max 7 company?
Well, I don't think it's at 100p on a forward basis. I mean, to really look at them in this environment where earnings have been under pressure and try to extrapolate forward earnings, I think is a mistake. So you really want to look at what the earnings power of the business is going forward, not look at a high rate environment where there's a glut of auto supply returning to the market and say, oh, this is going to be what their earnings profile looks like long term.
Grant.
Yeah, I agree with what Omar's saying here. I wouldn't worry about things like PE ratios. I would follow your heart. I think that that's good investment advice.
Yeah, would have been good investment advice for you before you bought those puts.
Let's talk about those puts. So Tesla stock price has obviously increased quite a bit, almost doubled in the last few weeks. Some people, I'm sure everybody here agrees, some of it is due to a gamma squeeze, right? Anybody object to that? Okay. So does that mean when that momentum slows down a little bit, will there be a pullback in the Tesla stock, or do you guys think it will continue higher into the 8-8 event? And I would like anyone on the speaker board maybe comment on this. Let's start with Larry, if he's available. Larry? All right, sounds like Larry is on mute. Yoda, would you like to comment on that? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Omar, let's start with you.
What was the question?
Maybe the other two didn't want to talk because of that too.
You don't remember the question either?
I remember the question. Taking a moment to see if anybody else wants to talk. Like Larry just came off mute. Larry?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I think that there's a pretty good chance that the stock is going to decline into 8-8. And a pretty good, we have a very strong track record of the stock declining after these Tesla events. But the interesting thing is that the stock has shown significant bullishness after the last quarter results, which is unusual, and after this most recent, production and delivery announcement, P&D announcement. So it could be that we're in a bullish period. I think there is a very strong realization by a fairly significant portion of the analyst community that Tesla's in this in this wave now, what they call their second wave. And so there's a completely different view of the stock overnight and fairly broadly across the market. So in these environments, sometimes even negative news doesn't get heard. So it's quite possible that we'll see the stock continuing its rise. I'm expecting, I just published it actually, which is one of the reasons I was delayed. I just published my my estimates, my projection for the second quarter 24, and I'm seeing the potential of 60 cents a share. I mean, this is, I think, a fairly bullish indication of what's coming down the pike, because we're going to see significant contribution from energy. We're going to see automotive, I think, deliver a reasonable result. And we're going to see, apart from and by the way, that's after a restructuring charge of about $500 million. So I think it's more than possible we'll see a very significant improvement in the stock price, even after the results are announced and into 8-8. And then it largely depends on how good the 8-8 event really is. And, these events have in the past not been good for the stock price because Tesla tends to speak, to the market rather than to the analysts. But it's more than possible that this time with the change in view, in the change in, I guess, the perception, that we'll see a positive result out of this event. So, it's more than there's every possibility the stock could move higher, significantly higher.
Okay, let's get the other views as well. We have about 15 minutes to go. Yoda, Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, just good point. I think Elon in the Q1 call mentioned that year over year, 2024 will see revenue growth over 2023, and no one believed him back then because it was Q1, things were looking bad. But I think with the surprise in terms of revenue or in terms of deliveries for Q2, I think analysts realize that the year isn't looking so bad after all, and I believe that Q3 will see obviously sequential quarter over quarter, but potentially year over year growth, and then Q4 will be growth, and so I think this is taking kind of the worst out of the equation for the analysts from a financial perspective.
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, I think there's some reluctance to answer the question you initially asked because no one knows why the stock is up 40% the last month outside of the gamma squeeze that you referenced. Larry, I'm curious. I feel like you spoke at length and said that, in short, it might go up, it might go down, but there's a second wave going on. I just don't see anything real that is driving a shift in expectations or, the way that people are thinking about the stock. I'm curious if you could double click on that a little and explain what sentiment shift is driving the stock price right now. Because in my mind, it's always been trading at an elevated level because of the AI promises and what Elon says. I just don't know what's changed in the last month to drive this price movement.
Yeah, I would challenge the notion that it's always done well on the AI promises. I think that's a fairly new development. It's a fairly new realization by the market of Tesla's expertise in the AI field, and it's only become relevant since the GPT moment. So I think that there is this realization, and this realization has come late for Tesla. I think that would be the one thing. The other is that I have spent a lot of time both in Europe and the US visiting delivery centers. I visited 3 delivery centers in the closing days of this last quarter. And I was in Europe at several delivery centers and spoke to many Tesla folks in Europe. And I didn't see the poor sales environment that everybody was talking about. I saw actually quite a lot of excitement in the sales floor. So that's why my projection for sales was so positive, and I was still short, although I was above everybody else. So I think that sales are going very well, very positive. I think that's a very positive sign. I think we will see prices as a result looking better as well. People have not factored in the power of the Cybertruck and its contribution to profit. I think they're beginning to see them on the road now, and I think that's having an impact. That's going to have a material impact on profitability in the coming year. And then, the reality of full self-driving is reaching people's consciousness. So, yeah, I think there is a very different attitude right now. I think that the bad news has been fully digested. And I think there has been a change in attitude, quite a significant change in attitude.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. We have about 10 minutes to go. Omar, would you like to say a few words on Tesla's PE ratio being a subject of scrutiny right now? Over the last few days, there's a lot of conversation around Tesla's PE ratio, and your thoughts around how the stock will continue. I think you agree that there's a bit of a gamma squeeze. Do you think there will be a pullback after momentum slows down a little bit, or do you expect it to go strong, continue into 8/8?
Look, I mean, I think with Tesla, you are really seeing it emerge from a period where it was kind of undervalued. There was hugely negative sentiment that took hold. Bears had even bulls believing some of their arguments, and that sales collapse that was predicted just hasn't actually unfolded. So I think things are kind of getting back to normal now. But whether the stock goes up or down is really neither here nor there. Long term, I see this company being 10 times larger than it is today. So whether it goes up a little here or there, I mean, if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to find the right answers. And asking about, the PE ratio today based on their past earnings in the past several quarters is not going to be the best predictor of what the future of the business is. I mean, this is really a historic moment in many ways, what they're doing. And you're not going to understand it just by simply looking at the lens of business and traditional financial analysis of, from like a value investing framework, right? When cavemen discovered fire, do you think they were going, I wonder, what this will do to our stock price? When the Wright brothers took flight for the first time, do you think they said, wow, this is going to be great for the stock on Monday? Some things are just bigger than that, and there'll be ups and downs along the way. I can't really predict what the market is going to do. There'll be good quarters, there'll be bad quarters. But I think when people are looking at this, they're really realizing that we're witnessing the birth of an Apple of our time, a Google of our time, a company that long term is going to be the most valuable public equity on the market, I believe. And in the short term, I see no reason why it shouldn't go back to all-time highs and above. At the very least, I would expect it to hit the 300 mark. In the sort of last rally, it stopped just short of 300. So with all the progress in the business, I would expect it to probably at least break 300 sometime within the next 12 months. But really, I think if people really looked at the AI business and they really understood it, and I think the results and the financials will help people come to understand it as it continues to grow. If people really looked at it, then there's no reason the stock shouldn't be trading near all-time highs, honestly, if the market truly digested it and what the earnings potential is and how differentiated their technology is.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Yep.
yeah, I think bears will continue to be disappointed and
Uh,
confused.
Grant and now Wessex. We have about 5 minutes. Let's keep it short, Grant.
Yeah, I will keep it short, following on Omar's 5-minute monologue you ranted him. Look,
Yeah, Grant. So you said this in the replies before, and here's the deal. Omar has been by far the biggest supporter of this space. To think that you deserve the same amount of speaking time for him just speaks to how clueless, moronic you are. Okay? And I want you to be on this board. I want you to represent the bear side. But you have to stop this nonsense. So, unmute yourself and talk about this stuff. Okay, Wessex.
Hey, I may have some breaking news for everybody regarding the Cybertruck. So if you own a Cybertruck, listen up. Or if you're thinking about buying one, this may be really important. But I unlocked a secret mode within the Cybertruck the other day. I was driving down the interstate. And it's about 9 o'clock at night. By the way, this may be relevant. My Cybertruck is wrapped in black. And I passed a car on the right on the interstate. And I looked over, and it's this girl smiling at me. And I was like, wow. And so I smiled back, and she kind of looked forward to make sure she wasn't driving off the road, looked back at me, gave me a big smile. We kind of had a little flirt going back and forth for a little bit. I kind of blew a kiss. I don't know. And pardon me for any ladies listening to this, just throw this away. But Then she reached down and she pulled up her shirt. And I realized right then the Cybertruck unlocked show me your boobies mode.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we didn't get to, I mean, I have a list of questions I want to get through today, but we didn't get to that. That's okay. So next week, next Monday, we're gonna talk about some more about Cybertruck, and hopefully we'll get to 12.4.3 rollout over the weekend, so we can get some feedback, discuss some feedback as well. Jim Farley had an interview. I listened to coming up this morning. I want to talk about that a little bit. Bitcoin prices have been volatile. I know we have some people in the audience who own Bitcoin as well. And we're going to talk about that. I want to focus a little bit more on politics as we go into the election cycle too. There's a lot of discussion going on that front as well. You know, Tesla is the main topic. Okay, Tesla is the center of all of these discussions. But a lot of these, other megatech companies, other conversations, all will shape Tesla stock price in the next few years as well. So we have to talk about these as well. And again, as a reminder, the questions at the top serve as replies to it will allow this space to be financially sustainable. Right now, we're getting about a few dozen replies. The good ones are getting about 100 replies. Once it gets to about thousands of replies per question, this space will be financially sustainable. So that's the goal. It's going to take some time to get there, but I appreciate it when people chime in. And it's not just about ad revenue. It's not just about engagement farming. The conversation below those questions helps shape the discussion in this space. Like, for example, Larry had really informative things to say in under one of the questions, and we were able to talk about Tesla Energy because of the discussions I saw. In another question, there was a really interesting discussion going around licensing FSD to other automakers and potentially even to ICE. And I saw how divided people were in that discussion. So that I brought up in here and we kind of dug into a little bit more. So it's really informative, really helpful when people, on so many fronts, when people reply to those questions. All right, on that note, thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy your weekends, and I will chat with you on Monday. Take care.